Hi, my name is John Kim. My business is nationalstudyacademy.com. So if you want to take a look at it, please go ahead. Uh, some of my students had a problem with beginning polar coordinate system, where we are going to be going over the basics right now. First of all, we kind of know what the XY coordinate system is. It's called the Cartesian coordinate system. It's called Cartesian coordinate system because it was named after Rene Descartes, and it looks something like this. The vertical axis is y, and the horizontal axis is the x direction. And by definition, everybody agreed that this direction is positive, that direction is negative, y direction, positive and negative. In the polar coordinate system, we have a little bit different system now. The first one is called the radius, and the second coordinate is called the angle. And the angle and the radius is somewhat difficult to kind of understand, so I'm going to explain how it works. In the polar coordinate system, we still use the xy coordinate, but starting with the angle theta, I'm going to use blue just to make you kind of know. 0 degrees by definition is here. And going counterclockwise is theta is greater than 0. Another word for greater than 0 is it is positive. I'm going to put positive just to make sure you know. And of course, if you're going this way, clockwise, your theta is going to be less than 0 or negative. So starting with the origin, which is located right over there, we're either going to rotate positive 90 or negative 90. Or positive 30, or negative, this will probably be about negative 135 degrees. So this is the coordinate system and it's being pivoted around the origin. Okay. Some other things to know is the radius. The radius is how far away from this ray that we're going. So I'll give you a simple example. Okay. Let's start with 3, 30 degrees. Okay. Starting with this. First we have to do is where the 30-degree angle is. So starting here, it's going positive 30 degrees. You're going to draw a ray with a 30-degree angle. And then this is your radius, how far it goes. Let's say it goes 1, 2, and then 3. That will be that point right there. And I'm going to mark it with purple so that you kind of know where it's located. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's try 2, 180 degrees. 180 degrees from here is this way. So the ray would be something like this. It's going in this direction. And the point is a radius of 2. And there it is right there. Let's do something with a negative angle. This can be converted into radians too as well. We know that 180 degrees is pi radians. We know that 30 degrees is pi over 6 radians. Okay. Let's try one more problem. I'm going to use black this time. Let's say we use 4, negative 60 degrees. We know that 60 degrees negative is is equal to negative pi over 3. I'm going to show you how to do these a little bit easier to memorize these later. So where is it located? Negative 60 degrees. So we're going to go this way. And it's going to be 60-degree mark. And then it's going to go 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's that point right there. So that's a point. It's not, get the point, it's a point. Don't forget, it is not a array or a line. It is actually a point. Just like if you, on this point right there, if you go 3, 4, it will be 3 in the x direction and then up 4 in the y direction. There will be that point. So these are all points. But in the polar coordinate system, it's the radius and then the angle. Let's do a little bit more to get your bearing on this. Okay, so this is page 2. Let's look at a different situation now, where you have negative 2 comma 60 degrees, or that would be pi over 3, obviously. But this time we have a radius, which is negative. How do we tell? What do we do with this radius of negative 2? Well, we obviously start at the origin. You go 60-degree mark right over here. So there it is right there. But instead of going positive 2 radius, we're going to go the opposite direction of a radius of 2. That'll be 1, 2. So that point would be located right over here. Okay, and that's your answer. Negative 2, comma, pi over 3. Okay. Let's do a couple more. Let's do both negative this time. See if you kind of understand it. Negative 3, comma, negative 5 pi over 6. Okay, 5 pi over 6. We know that pi over 6 is 30 degrees, so 5 pi over 6 is 150 degrees. It's negative, so it's in quadrant. We're going negative 150 degrees to quadrant 3. And so there it is. So first thing we do is we draw out the angle, which is 5 pi over 6 in radians. Negative, of course. And this negative is going to throw you off. So we have, instead of going, this would be like a positive 3. You have to go to the opposite direction. It is a reflection about the line or about the origin. So you go 1, 2, 3. And there's your point right there. Okay, get the point? I hope you got the point. There will be some questions along this line to make sure that you understand. So we're going to do 4 more examples and then explain what's going on. Let's look at coordinate of 3 comma 2 pi over 3. Well, we know that pi over 3 is going to be 60 degrees, so 2 pi over 3 is going to be 120. It's in quadrant 2. We know that because this is the 0 degrees. It's going positive 120, which is quadrant 2, and it's got a radius of 3. So we're going to draw the 120 degree angle. This is the 120 degree angle, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and there it is right there. Let's try another point. Well, let's try 3 and negative 4 pi over 3. See where that's located. We always start with the angle. We know that pi over 3 is going to be 60 degrees. 60 degrees times 4 is 6 times 4 is 24. So it's going to be negative 240 degrees. Just to give you a reference. And the radius is going to be 3. So we're going to go in the opposite direction, negative 180, negative 240, and positive 3. Wow, it's the same point. Let's try another one. Let's try negative 3 and negative pi over 6. Pi over 3. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Well, first of all, negative pi over 3 is pi over 3 60. So negative of that is negative 60. So here it is. And it's going 3 this way. It's got a negative, which means it's going the opposite direction. Wow, it happens to be the same point again. Do you think it was luck that it happened to be the same point? Probably not. Well, let's do a last one, okay? You notice that they're both positive, positive, negative, negative, positive. And the last one I'm going to try is going to be negative and positive. I'm going to say it's going to be 5 pi over 3 and negative 3. See what that looks like. 5 pi over 3, we know that pi over 3 is going to be 60 degrees multiplied by 5. That's going to be 300. So we're going to start off here. It's going to go 90, 180, 270, 300. So it's going to kind of be in the green mark ray area, except instead of going positive 3, 1, 2, 3, it's going to go negative 3. This all happens to be the same point. If you can understand this, you should be able to get the first parts of your questions, which is name 3 other angles on 3 other coordinate system in the polar coordinate system, where you have the radius and the angle both being positive, one being positive and negative, both being negative, or the other being negative and the other being positive. So hopefully that will help a little bit. Sorry about the picture here. I should have shown the picture a little bit easier. I'm going to show you a little bit of some way to memorize. This is a little technique that I use on all of my students to memorize things. This is your family. And if you forget your family, I tell my students this all the time, you're an orphan. Believe me, you don't want to be an orphan because your survival rate just dropped by 50%. So don't forget your family. We know that 2 pi is equal to 360 degrees. And divided by 2, you get pi on the left side. Divided by 2, you get 180 degrees. This you should be familiar with. Divide this by 2 again, you get pi over 2, obviously, which is 90 degrees on the right-hand side. Take this number, divide it by 3, which is same thing as multiplied by 1/3, which is pi over 6. Divide this by 3, you get 30 degrees. Notice that the 3 and the 6 are interchanged. So this is something that you should memorize because this is part of the family. Double this, you get 2 pi over 6, which is same thing as pi over 3, which is equal to double 30 degrees. It's going to be 60 degrees. Memorize this as well. Notice that the 3 and the 6 interchange. Take half of pi over 2, which is pi over 4. Half of 90 degrees is 45 degrees. Okay? Make that a little bit smaller. 45 degrees. So if I have 3 pi over 4, I multiply this by 3. I know my multiples of 45. 45, 90, 135. So 45 times 3 equals 135 degrees. Or if I take pi over 6, or like I said, pi over 3, which happens to be 60, I multiply by 2 here, and I get 120. 60 times 2 is 120. Or 5 pi over 3. Pi over 3 happens to be 60. 60 times 5. 60 times 5. You just take the 6 and the 5, you multiply it, you get 30. 6 times 5 is 30. And add the 0, you get 300 degrees. It works all the time. So you should be familiar with these angles, and hopefully it will help you to with your homework. Good luck.